The year was 1993, and the 8th-ranked Florida Gator football team was coming off of a 44-6 win over Arkansas State to open up the season. They ran and passed their way to 522 yards of total offense. Terry Dean and redshirt freshman Danny Werfel threw 2 touchdowns apiece. Next up for the Orange and Blue, a road trip to Kentucky, a game that many thought would be another easy win for the Gators. Little did anybody know at the time that this game would go down as one of the great comebacks in Gator history.
A beautiful night for football, and we're happy to have you with us. Wherever you might be listening in the Sunshine State, settle back and enjoy another exciting Saturday of Florida Gator football.
Gator fans found themselves on the edge of their seat for most of the night. The offensive precision from the previous week didn't make its way to the Bluegrass State. Between Dean and Werfel, they threw 7 interceptions.
Well, the outcome certainly hung in the balance, so it was going to take almost a miracle finish if we were going to win.
And I don't really ever remember there being any sort of panic or any sense that we weren't going to still be able to pull it out despite the 7 turnovers.
With just a minute and 23 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Kentucky seemed to seal the Gators' fate when they kicked a 25-yard field goal, taking the lead 20-17. The Gators had just 90 seconds to save their season. The comeback began with a great return by Harrison Houston.
Houston will catch it now. He backs up a little deeper than I thought. He's to the 1, to the 10, left side 15, out across the 20, down to 25, across the 30, upfield to 35, and to the 40-yard line. Another good run back by Harrison Houston.
Werfel would then complete passes of 9 yards to Eric Rhett, 9 yards to Jack Jackson, and 12 yards to Rhett. Florida was on Kentucky's 28-yard line with 13 seconds to play, but it was one incompletion that actually helped the Orange and Blue.
Danny threw it, and I almost made a great one-handed catch on the ball, but the ironic thing would have been that the clock probably would have run out had I caught the ball there, so fortunately I wasn't able to make the catch.
The Gators faced a 3rd down and 10 with just 8 seconds left to play.
3rd and 10, 28-yard line. Werfel dropping back to throw, pumps and fires the ball over the middle. It's there! It's there! Got a touchdown! Doric's got a touchdown! Oh my! Doric's got a touchdown! The Gators have taken the lead! Unbelievable! Chris Doric's got a touchdown!
I remember everything happening so quickly and how quiet the stadium got, and then being stuck on the bottom of a pile of multiple 300-pound men. It was pretty scary there for a minute, but I just, it was surreal.
Well, the sideline was certainly going crazy. There was no question about it because there wasn't much time left.
The catch made a huge mark on more than one career.
I only know what it did for me as a fifth-year announcer, and I tell the story often that in 1989, people knew that David Steele wasn't here anymore as the announcer. And in my second year in 1990, oh yeah, it's the new guy. And in the third year in 1991, it was Mark Herbert. And in 1992, my fourth year, no, it's Mick Herbert. And then in 93, Doring's got a touchdown, and Keith Jackson, the legendary ABC announcer, talked about it the next week, and ESPN picked it up. And for those days, that meant it really went viral. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, Mick Hubert, he's a great announcer. But for the first 4 years, I was just another guy, just grinding out my job.
The thing for me was that I always had a chip on my shoulder. You know, I think despite going to school here in PK Young, despite being all state in football my junior and senior year, despite setting records there at PK, I wasn't given a scholarship, and I always felt like I had to prove myself to everybody else. My name, for a while there, I thought my first name was Walk-On because everything was written about me was Walk-On Chris Doring or former Walk-On Chris Doring. I always felt like I had to you know, kind of show that I was worthy of being considered like every other player, and I think that was the ultimate validation.
93 was sort of my baptism into Florida football, throwing the winning touchdown to Chris Doring, and then it just, the floodgates opened. The exposure, the attention, the wins, that was an incredible experience to kick it off.
It was ironic because, again, I went from being one of these anonymous players to walking across campus. I'm picking up the alligator and reading stories about myself, the people talking about me. So I go into one of my classes, and one of the professors starts telling a story about Chris Doring and what admiration he has for the obstacles that he's overcome and this and that, going on, and little did he know I was actually sitting in his class as he's talking about me. So I think that was a perfect example the anonymity that I held up to that point in time. My own professor didn't even realize I was in his class.
While the catch may have validated Doring's place at Florida, the guy who threw it to him would eventually have 2 much more prestigious titles in front of his name.
While I'm very proud to have been one of his receivers, obviously he was a well-noted Heisman Trophy winner, the thing that I'm more proud of is the fact that we've been friends for over 20 years, and this is a guy that's as dedicated and committed and walking the walk as anybody I've ever been around.
Those 2 players, I mean, here's Chris Doring, who played over at PK Young, right here in Gainesville. He's a hometown, local favorite, doesn't have a scholarship. He's the quintessential, walk-on story. And here's Danny Werfel, who could have played elsewhere, but decided to play at Florida. And he carried himself so well. And, being a strong Christian, he had a great foundation. And so it was just easy for people just to latch on to him. And then there was Chris, the local boy. And so for those 2 guys to come together like that, it made it for kind of a special story for sure because of who they are.
Werfel went to lead the Gators to SEC championships. He won the Heisman Trophy and National Championship in 1996. And in December 2013, will be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. For Doring, he went on to set the record for most touchdown catches in Florida and SEC history.
I had such a great bookend of milestone events. That's the first game I ever caught a touchdown pass in. I catch touchdown number 1 and touchdown number 2. Number 2 is the game winner there against Kentucky. Fast forward to 1995, my last game here in the Swamp against the Seminoles. We're undefeated, a chance to potentially play for a national title. And on senior day, I catch the record-breaking touchdown, to give me the all-time SEC touchdown reception record. So it was an amazing, kind of bookend of events and a great ride all the way between.
20 years ago, Danny Werfel, Chris Doring, and the rest of the Florida Gator football team traveled to Lexington to take on Kentucky. Little did they know the impact that day, that game, and that moment would have on their lives, their future, and the Florida football program. For Gator Zone, I'm Chelsea Gates.